know you lie. I know you lie. I know you lie. I know you lie.
Hey y'all, it's absolutely Aisha here. Welcome to my channel, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Since you guys enjoyed my story time from last time about my first pap smear, I decided that I'd go ahead and make a fresh new story time. I do think I've got something to share and something that somebody out there can relate to. So grab your popcorn, your wine, your blankie, whatever it is that you like to sit down and snuggle up with. Yeah, let's get into it. For the sake of this video, I'm going to call my friend Brittany. Now, Brittany and I met in the 6th grade, and we ended up not only being in some of the same classes, also we lived in the same apartment complex, we rode the same bus, so we really became fast friends. We were opposites in a lot of different ways. Like, I was more of like the overachiever, whereas she was a bit of a party girl. I remember her going to like the club in 6th grade and me thinking that was so cool. Nails done, hair done, and I was still kind of growing into myself. It turns out that she ended up not going to the same middle school that we went to after the 6th grade. But even after the 6th grade, we still remained good friends and we still remained close. So 8th grade, I ended up moving away and I still ended up going to the same middle school. 9th grade comes and it's time to go to high school. I wasn't going back to my old district high school. So lo and behold, it is East High School. East High School happened to be the same high school that my best friend was going to, so we're going to high school together. Now me and Brittany, she was still more like the social butterfly. She had plenty of boyfriends, but on the flip side, I was more of like the reserved type. I didn't really have a boyfriend at all. We were definitely on two different wavelengths there. Alright, we're gonna fast forward the story all the way to junior year when it starts to get kind of good. Junior year, of course, me and Brittany continued to be friends, and we both had the same lunch. One day we go to lunch, we sit together of course, and she brings this new guy that she's talking to. For the sake of this video, I'm gonna call him Mark. Now, Mark was a little bit run down. He had on this, like, you know, those big black flight jackets that people used to wear with like the little fur hood on the back. He was skinny. He had kind of a high voice, and also he tried to do like the whole curly fro thing, but it didn't quite work. His hair was quite dry, and then on top of that, he tried to slick it back into a ponytail. But the problem was, when it was slicked back, he didn't have very much hang time, so it ended up looking more like a little cottontail in the back. That's what it was. First impressions, I was not attracted to Mark, and I couldn't quite see why she was attracted to Mark, to be honest. And we're gonna fast forward again. So Mark and Brittany ended up dating officially, and of course we all had the same lunch, so we ended up sitting together pretty much all the time. The more that we continued to talk and the more that we continued to kind of get together, the more I realized that like me and Mark had a lot in common. He was creative, he was intellectual, and most importantly, he was driven. At only like 16, 17 years old, he and his brother had a studio already downtown. He was already producing beats. He was and is an engineer. I was kind of drawn to what it was that he brought to the table. We just clicked. When it comes to guys, I was usually kind of shy, and I don't really know what to say. This guy, he was different. No matter what I feel about Mark, I didn't want to be one of those girls who goes and breaks that code. But one thing about matters of the heart is that, like, your heart doesn't have a brain. Too bad I wasn't the only one that felt that connection. So we were at the lunch table, and Mark and Brittany were having, I guess, a petty disagreement. And I can't remember how it came up, but Brittany was all of a sudden like, "I think you like Aisha." Talk about awkward. From that moment on, it was clear that it wasn't just me and Mark that kind of felt that connection. Like, it was obvious to other people as well. But even though that was an awkward moment, we got past that. I can't remember whether this moment was before that moment or after, but I remember a time when we were randomly at the lunch table and Mark puts his hand on my knee. He kind of caresses it a little bit like this. At the time, you guys, they were still together, so I'm like, dude, what the hell? Like, what are you doing? I want to kind of blow his spot a little bit and say, don't do that. But then again, I'm like, I don't want to hurt my friend. I don't know. It was almost like he was trying to reel me in at that moment. So summer came, and they did end up breaking up, I believe in like June. So senior year comes, lo and behold, we all have a computer class together. Brittany, Mark, and I. So Brittany and I naturally sit together and we would talk and tease over, you know, with Mark. She kind of was talking to her ex, and she began talking to a new guy that was at the school at the time. So it seemed kind of like, you know, she was, you know, getting over Mark. Mark and I continued to be cool. Mark and I would like end up walking and just having like little conversations here and there, and we might sit together at lunch a time or two and things like that. Probably bonded a little more on my own than when they were actually in a relationship. So one afternoon after school, I remember my grandpa called me. He was like, "Age, your telephone for you." And I pick up the phone. Hello? It's Mark. Keep in mind, you guys, Mark has never called me before separately. It's always been Mark, Brittany, and I. So he called me, and I can't remember for the life of me what the excuse was that he gave that he needed to call me for. But anyways, he made up some sort of excuse. And guess who he got my phone number from, you guys? Brittany. So that afternoon, me and Mark sat on the phone for like 3 to 4 hours. Just found myself thinking, wow, if only you weren't Brittany's Mark. So you guys, we kept talking pretty much every day after school. And of course, Brittany knew nothing of what was going on. So Mark and I were having a conversation, and I can't remember who I was talking to or what it was about. But all I remember is that all of a sudden he said, "Me and Naisha talk." And it was clear when he said that he didn't just mean, you know, talk. He meant talking. But the more that I thought about it, the more I was like, well, yeah, we have been talking. So I was torn. I mean, on one hand, I had my best friend who at that point I had been friends with for like 5-6 years at this point. But on the other hand, I've got this guy that I'm falling for that I haven't really met any other guy like. And to be honest, you guys, this was really my first chance of having a bae. I could have shut things down at that very moment, but I couldn't. So I didn't. So by this time, you guys, it's October. He is officially bae. At this point, we just had to have more of each other. You guys know what I'm talking about when you're infatuated with somebody and, you know, you just can't get enough of them. But we were teenagers, senior year, with no cars, wasn't a whole lot that we could do. We had to truly make the most of whatever time that we had at school. So in order to not be obvious, me and Mark met up basically every morning at our little secret hideaway. The library. How many people are actually going to think to come to the library, right? We meet up, we snuggle, we flirt, we hold hands, you know, do the little cutesy stuff that little teen couples do, right? Then one day, it happened. So we were sitting at a table in the library, and he tells me, "Close your eyes." He kisses me. So this is how you know I'm a nerd. He goes, I jumped up immediately, ran behind a bookcase, and had my little nerd freak out. "Oh my God, he finally kissed me, he finally kissed me." You guys, I was waiting on this moment forever, it felt like, and it finally happened, and we kissed. A lot. Kind of sucked not being able to tell my best friend about the first guy that I had pretty much ever fallen for, but because it was my best friend's ex. So New Year's Eve comes, and you know, we're teenagers, so we don't have a whole lot to do on New Year's Eve, right? Brittany and I were just on the phone that night, just chatting it up, talking about what was going on with school and what's going on with her boyfriends and etc, etc. Like, then all of a sudden she gets another line. It's Mark. So now the three of us are all together on three-way, Brittany, Mark, and I, and I'm excited to hear his voice, but I can't quite give it away. By the way, Brittany and Mark remain cool, even though they weren't actually talking or together. They still, you know, would chat it up on occasion, just as friends though. So I can't remember what we talked about that night, but I just remember it being really, really awkward for me on the other line. So after we talk on the phone for a few hours all together, we finally hang up. And then guess who calls me right back? Mark. So me and Mark talked for the rest of the night, and that was New Year's Eve. So the funny thing about this thing is that the more that our teenage love affair continued, the less that I started to care and just wanted Mark all to myself. Quite frankly, I was sick and tired of hiding our relationship. So we started to go a little bit more public. I mean, we started to hold hands and kiss and hug and all that good stuff in public. I don't think he was really concerned about whether or not we got caught or not. But as you know, I'm invested in two ways. I've got my best friend on one hand, I've got my bae on the other. So what do I do? So let's fast forward to February. So it's after school. We're walking, holding hands on our way out to the buses, and we come across T, who was waiting at the door by the front entrance. So at that point, it's a little bit too late to just kind of snatch away and say, hey, I wasn't doing that. So I kind of just went along with it, just kept holding his hands and walked out the door. What you guys don't know is that T was a known gossip, low-key instigator around the school. So I knew by her seeing what just went down that she was not about to keep this quiet. Not this hot tea. That same day, I get home and I log on to Facebook and boop, you know that old school Facebook pop sound they used to make? I get a message. It's Brittany.